weeks here, but people keep asking, why is that guy like posed like that? It's so
Disco.
weird. Yeah, it's kind of strange, right? Actually, if you look at him, and then there's a insignia of a bell that forms around him, he actually makes the crack in the Liberty Bell. It's what it will be eventually. You'll see it soon. It won't be too long. Let me just start out by saying my son, with that video we showed you a minute ago, he was 5 years old. I have 5 kids, by the way. My youngest is 5 years old, and he watched that video, and he says to me the other day, he says, Dad, why are you pretending to be a superhero? I said, I'm not pretending to be a superhero. He says, Dad, you're trying to make people think you're a superhero. And I said, no. How do you know I'm not a superhero? And he says, because you don't have any powers. Touché. But I know I don't have powers. What if I do have powers? Like what? I said, well, like asking people tough questions and getting answers from people. He said, those aren't powers. Powers are like laser eyes and like being able to fly. I said, Batman can't do those things? Yeah, but Batman has a cool suit. So fair enough. So this is my cool suit, as cool as I can get for you guys. But he keeps me humble. I want to talk to you guys a little bit tonight about Liberty is Rising. What it is, what the Truth in Media Project is all about, and how I hope and believe that we can work together, Iowa and across the country. We can work together to really make a huge impact in this nation. Because right now what's happening across the nation is this thing called the Liberty Movement. Have you heard of it? It's rising, is it not? Now, unfortunately, there aren't 10,000 people here. But we don't need 10,000 people, do we? We don't need 2,000 people. We don't need a majority of people, right?
Right.
What does Samuel Adams say we need?
Irate minority.
Right there. For those of you in the back who can't see it, so sad, I'm sorry. But it says this, it says, it takes not a majority to prevail, but an irate, tireless minority, keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men. That is your job. That is my job. It's not to ever become the most populous group of people in any political system. It's to be tireless in the work of setting brush fires of freedom. I love that idea. A brush fire of freedom. What does that look like? It means that you're not necessarily going to win the argument every time. It doesn't mean people are going to agree with you on every issue, are they? But a brush fire means you're just setting this one thought. You're challenging this one piece of the status quo, this one thing that makes people say, maybe. That's all I need. We just need a maybe. That's where we start tonight. You know, the Liberty is Rising thing, and by the way, it's a hashtag Liberty is Rising, so if you're using it, please hashtag it, because we want to be able to see it on Twitter. Keep it trending on Twitter. But the hashtag Liberty is Rising, the idea behind that. If I step away, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of ADHD, so I got to be able to move around, I'm sorry. The idea behind that is pretty simple. It's that liberty in this country is having its moment. Liberty is rising. I was on Peter Schiff's show the other day, and he said to me, why do you say liberty is rising? Because I'm not sure it is. He said, in fact, I think liberty is dying in America. The question is he right? On some levels, perhaps. My thanks to Kim for what she had to say a few minutes ago. Wasn't she great? Did she do a great job? I must tell you, I have found her secret. You laminate the pages before you start. I like it. That's a good one. She says it keeps it from getting wet if you're in the rain. For all time. She's a homeschool mom. She's always ready, okay? They're like the Boy Scouts. They're prepared. So he says that liberty is dying in America. And just to an extent, you know, Peter's right. Absolutely. You have the Patriot Act and the NSA and all that's happening there. Clear violations of constitutional rights. And most people don't seem to care. When you talk about the Patriot Act, it's like hitting your head against the wall with most people, isn't it? You explain to them why the Constitution protects people, and the response is what? Well, if you're not doing anything wrong, then why does it matter? That's the response from most people. And so the Patriot Act and the NSA and all the snooping and the spying, all that stuff is going on right now. The prosecution of whistleblowers, incredible. We're contemplating calling for a national day of boycotting the Whistleblower Protection Act. What do you guys think about that? 1989, Congress signed into law the Whistleblower Protection Act to protect people who worked for the government who were going to come out and reveal illegal activities. Do you think we have a protection act for whistleblowers? So why don't we just abolish it? Let's just call for a day and say, let's just abolish it because we don't honor it in this country. What do you think? You guys want to get behind that? You think we can do that? Man, what's going on in here? Hello? Maybe not. Liberty is rising. You have the DOJ seizing journalists' records. We're going to talk more about journalists in a few minutes, but that's a huge story. And you know what's sad about that is it rang really loudly in media circles that this was happening to James Rosen, who, by the way, is a very, very good reporter. But when it was happening now to Glenn Greenwald, people aren't saying as much. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. What else? You got drone strikes on U.S. citizens. You got drone strikes all over the world, killing people all over the world, and we're calling it what? Collateral damage. It happens. Mistake. We have the IRS targeting political groups. For those of you who follow Reality Check, by the way, I was a year ahead of everybody else in that story. I'm just saying, a year. How about the price we pay for war and all these interventionist wars that we have right now? And we keep talking about this endless war with Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. And now we're trying to have peace talks with the Taliban. But we haven't done anything about getting rid of the NDAA. So how does that work? We'll talk about that. What about the drug war? And the fact that this is an ongoing war that makes absolutely no sense. The fact that Mexican drug cartels are the single biggest threat to America's national security. A 2,000-mile-long land border with cartels that are extremely well-funded, extremely well-armed. We're spending billions of dollars in national treasure, and more importantly, we're spending the lives of our soldiers over in Afghanistan. And yet we have a 2,000-mile-long land border, and we could end the drug war tomorrow by legalizing pot. We absolutely could.
Yeah.
We'll get more into that in a few minutes. I know. Some people are like, no, what did I come to? What's he talking about? Does he not know he's in Iowa? It makes sense. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. Federal Reserve Bank, can we at least agree on that? And CISPA, PIPA, SOPA, anybody else who's in the royal family. All of those folks. These internet bills that are designed to protect intellectual property rights, which of course will do nothing to protect intellectual property rights because there's a thing that's already in existence called copyright law. We already have it. We don't need that to protect the internet. So the question, is liberty rising or is it dying? Well, maybe it's both. Because right now, liberty is in peril. It is rising. We have an opportunity. But it's in peril because of the clowns in the Republican and the Democratic parties that aren't dealing with any of these issues on behalf of the people whom they are supposed to represent, and instead are getting us all tied up on issues that we're going to fight over that really make no big difference in the long run. The biggest problem, of course, that we have in this country is that the politicians, whether it be on the national level, whether it be members of Congress, whether it be the president himself, or we work our way down into the local levels, are not honoring something called the oath of office. The idea that there is rule of law in this country. Rule of law that determines your freedom and protects it. You know, it's so crazy to me that we have evolved to a point in our society today where we actually believe that rights and freedoms only belong to the guilty. That the only people who care about freedom and about due process are criminals, bad people, terrorists. They care about those things because it's their escape from justice. How the founders and the framers would have been so disgusted by that idea. Someone just got a text message. Disgusted by that idea, wouldn't they? The idea that the Bill of Rights was designed to protect the guilty? No, it wasn't. It was designed to protect the innocent. But today we say the innocent don't need rights because we're innocent. That's how far we've come.